Okay, let's try this again. So we're talking about authentic energy today and why authentic energy is where we want to aim our focus when it comes to health, especially when we're over the age of 40 and we have young kids at home, we are mothers, we've got a lot of things going on in our world that demand a pretty significant output of energy every day. So when it comes to thinking about how and why we are going to be building this authentic energy, we want to think about where the roots of dysfunction begin and where this energy sucks come from. Could we blame our kids for, draining our energy, that we don't have any time, this and that? We can go and circulate back to mindset on that one. Could we blame our job? Our inability to have any time to focus on ourselves? Again, it comes back to whether or not we have the actual energy to deal with those things that are just regularly a part of life, right? And so on my message this morning in my reel, we're talking about how can we build this authentic energy? How can we create this energy in a way that it has to come from an external source? It doesn't have to come from a stimulant. It doesn't have to come from excessive exercise. It doesn't have to come from anything extreme in our world. It is an energy, a vibrancy that you wake up in the morning and you are ready for the day. Like are ready to get a good crack on the day. It's not where we roll over and hit snooze 4 times, or we're really struggling to find our way through the morning until we have that first cup of coffee. Authentic energy is coming from where you're really speaking to, man, I'm waking up and the day is now mine. I'm waking up and I'm really ready to tackle the morning, tackle the day. So this morning we're talking about a couple different strategies in my reel. And this is just 3 of many, just 3 of so many different routes, so many different individual approaches that you can take on this particular journey. So first thing, and I'm going to refer to my notes, we want to look at minerals. Most moms are depleted in minerals. And when we're thinking about mineral depletion, we're not just thinking about sodium and magnesium. There are many different cofactors that go into mineral depletion. And now let's talk about, before we talk about which ones, what depletes minerals. So depletion of minerals can come from, obviously, top-notch number 1, that we're not eating whole foods diets. We're eating mostly processed foods, or we're eating diets that are just that, diets, where our strategy number 1 is to try to keep as little calories coming in as possible so we can keep our weight in check. And when we live by that mantra and we don't eat broadly, or we have very picky feelings around food, we only like a certain types of food, we don't want to ever try to branch from those certain types of food, or we don't like to cook, or we don't like to prepare or source foods, and we're always just buying the same things over, we can become depleted in certain minerals. And, I've heard people say, oh, that's just how I am. That's just the way that I am. Well, it's time to change that, because if you don't change it, that can cause more dysfunction. And if you don't eat broadly, that causes more dysfunction. It puts you at higher risk for food sensitivities. It puts you at higher risk for nutritional deficiencies. The other thing that drives it is chronic stress, right? Chronic stress is both real and perceived. So that means that, do we take a relatively minor event and turn it into a massive stressor, right? Because we don't have the energy to deal with that stressor, that we then turn it into this huge thing that then takes so much energy to deal with that we don't have the energy there to deal with it. And then that depletes more minerals because it puts our body into fight or flight. When we are in the fight or flight mode, then we are burning through minerals at quite a rapid rate. It's just how our body functions, because we need those minerals to be the catalyst to different reactions within the body to deal with the stressor. Other stressors that can occur are things like injuries, chronic pain, chronic dysfunction can drive mineral depletions. And then, like I said, just flat out not having a nutrient sufficient diet can cause those depletions. So what can we do? So chronic stress depletes sodium, magnesium, potassium. It exaggerates every stress reaction and makes them 10 times more overwhelming, and impacts our ability to get out of the reaction, right? So how do we support this stress response? How do we support ourselves so that our minerals do not become depleted? Number one, make sure that you're eating enough food. Number 2, make sure that the food that you're eating is rich in micronutrients. So start with the basics. If you know nothing about nutrition and you don't really have the energy right now to start to dig in and learn about nutrition, you have no idea which nutrition book to buy because there's millions of them on the market, or which diet strategy to follow. Do I follow keto, carnivore, paleo, a whole food, Mediterranean? What is the best strategy for me? If you're not even doing the basics right now, start with that. Look for all the colorful plants, all the colorful fruits, the deep colors, right? Not just light green grapes and apples. Look for all the deep colors. Look for the super ones like kiwi, pomegranates, pomegranate juice, citrus, grapefruit, beets, rutabagas. Rutabagas are a powerhouse prebiotic food. Artichokes, artichoke hearts, all the things that you're going to find in like Asian superstores. You're going to find all kinds of plants in there. Most of them, unfortunately, are not organic, but you're going to find all kinds of plants that are going to feed and fuel the microbiome with the nutrients you need for not only blood sugar stability, but also brain stability. The cool thing is there's a lot of overlap when it comes to nutrition and the systems of our body. The systems of our body are all incredibly intertwined. They do not exist in silos, and we cannot put them there. So that's great because when we talk about a nutrition strategy, the nutrition strategy is all overlapping and intertwined as well. That means if you buy the kiwi is going to have minerals in it, but it's also going to feed the microbiome and help to produce certain bacteria that help to avoid you having an overgrowth of the bad bacteria. There's a simple way to put it, but it's exactly what it does, right? The next thing to think about is with your proteins, right? Make sure you're eating some animal protein. It doesn't have to be all animal protein, but make sure you're eating it because that's going to be nourishing your body, nourishing yourself with the amino acids that you need to signal to create neurotransmitters for brain stability. That's what we need to support mitochondrial health. If we don't have good, healthy mitochondria, especially in this in this pandemic, right, with something that's zooming around to all of us at a rapid rate, our mitochondrial health is top-notch priority, especially post-infection, okay? So then when it comes to carbohydrate consumption, that varies across the lifespan with women, like how many carbohydrates we need, but we do need carbohydrates. So diets that are completely devoid of carbohydrates are not effective long-term strategies for women at all. Like zero, not good at all. Do not do that. But do we need less carbohydrates as we get older or as we have different changes in our activity levels? Yes, we absolutely do. We need less carbohydrates because our body shifts, right? And that's on an individual basis. We're not talking about that today. So minerals start with nourishing your body so that you're not twirling into a stress reaction all the time because your blood sugar is unstable, right? That's the number one strategy. Okay. Then we want to check for microbiome health. If our microbiome is present with massive amounts of overgrowth, this will affect the ability to absorb nutrients. This is why I run gut tests on clients, because if we are not absorbing our food, we can't move forward with our health. If you have a massive overgrowth of bacteria within your gut, you will not be able to move the needle on your health forward. If your lymphatic system is completely stagnant because you're not moving enough, that will not allow us to move the needle on health forward. So check that microbiome health. This is where gut tests are helpful because we can understand exactly which bacteria are deficient within the microbiome. And then we can tailor nutrition and dietary practices to support the growth of those particular bacterial strains. It not only comes from supplementation, but specific nutrition strategies on how to support nutrient absorption. If you're not absorbing your nutrients, like I said, we were talking about mitochondria just a minute ago, you cannot support your mitochondria. If you're not absorbing your protein, we can't create neurotransmitters that support your brain. So making sure that gut health is of top priority. Now, running supplements to support gut health is, yes, that's what we do typically after you have a microbiome assessment, especially if there's an overgrowth. You have to get rid of that. It doesn't just magic sauce disappear. You have to get rid of that. And once we do, then you come in and re-inoculate the gut and then practice daily practices, including stress managing, including things that support your stress reactions. Like, are we flying off the handle if something is not right in our world? Well, that's going to cause leaky gut all the time. So you got to check that. You got to get that in place, because that also affects authentic energy. If you're always pissed off at something, you're not going to have good, solid energy, right? So the next step is addressing pain and movement dysfunction. It is a definite hidden stressor. So learning how to move our bodies in a way that is right for our bodies and implementing different movement strategies is tip-top priority. Because when we're moving better, we're going to have less pain and we're going to have less dysfunction. It's not an overnight process. It's something that is an ongoing process, but realizing that there is no perfect movement strategy, just like there's no perfect posture. Posture is transient. You will be in different postures at all times throughout the day. There's no pelvic neutral posture all day long. So if you've ever been told that, please, you can't be in pelvic neutral posture all day long, right? We're going to be supporting our bodies with movement throughout the day. Pelvic floor disorders, common after you have children, seek help for that. There are amazing pelvic health physical therapists, both online and in person. Just use your search feature on Google and search for pelvic health PT in your area. And then you can call them up and ask them their practices. If they only use biofeedback devices and they're only doing Kegels, then you want to seek a different strategist. Where they're going to look at whole body integration and talk to them about how you want to be an active participant in life. You have no interest in, that's awesome. Marina, that was very distracting. But I'm glad you're using that salad to get you an energy. Yes, food is very, very priority. But ask them if they're going to use exercise also to help to support the pelvic floor and not just using biofeedback devices. Back pain, knee pain, neck pain are all just energy sucks all day long. Now, if you are in pain, the key thing is that there are strategies to support your exiting from that. And pain is a signal to the body. If we didn't have pain, none of us would survive. It's telling us to find a different route, do something different, support us in a different way. It's not there to degrade our life. It's telling us to take action and do something about it. If we think about it that way, it's pretty darn good that we do have pain, because if we didn't, like I said, we wouldn't survive very long. Dysfunctional breathing patterns, rib positions, like if you're walking around with your ribs flared in one position or another, or you're only shallow breathing throughout the day, this impacts energy flow in the body and can zap our energy big time. So thinking about this throughout the day, not to where the point where it's overwhelming and you're like trying to mentally check all these boxes throughout the day while taking care of your kids, while trying to feed yourself and all this stuff, it can become like this total mind boggle. So remembering that this is all part of a strategy of implementation, that you just start to layer in habits. And then it just becomes a part of your world. Like, you don't have to put a sticky note on to brush your teeth. Eventually, these will just become a part of your world when you start to make them a part of your lifestyle. All right, another one is to keep moving. Like I mentioned before, stagnation breeds dysfunction, right? The pond that's not moving is the one with all the mold and all the algae and stuff growing on top. We don't want to be a moldy pond with algae growing on us. We got to move. And so when we move, the more we incorporate more of us when we move, the better function we will have throughout our lymphatic system. When we have better lymphatic flow, we can get toxins out so we can get nutrients in. If we can't get toxins out, we can't get nutrients in. If we're always flooding ourselves with toxins or saturating our environment with toxins, whether it's negative emotions and negative people, or it's just like fake fragrance, which is my pet peeve, then we have all kinds of issues, right? And if we're not moving, we're sitting all the time, we're shallow breathing, that is going to affect us. Or if our only movement is just exercise in the morning and then we're tanked for the rest of the day, that's not ideal. We want to find ways to stay moving all day, right? Train, like I said, train, but also move. Training, but also moving, really important. And then laugh a lot. If you have any issue laughing, just watch my nonsense this morning on my reel. I mean, I don't know how ridiculous that looks, but it was. And it was fun. And that's important. So mindset is a powerhouse mover of life, right? Even if stuff isn't that hilarious, find something that is funny to you and laugh at it. Because no one can be mad if they're laughing. Unless you're a mother and you're laughing because you're about to cry because life is so overwhelming. Sometimes that can happen, but reality, really, we can't be mad. We can't be hung up on different, stressors if we're laughing. If you have, like I said, if you have trouble, just watch me dancing and that should help. Okay. And then have fun. Find something each day that causes you to have fun. I think we get tied up in man, I can't go anywhere to have fun because I'm stuck at home with the kids, or I, of course that's a bad mindset, or I'm stuck that we have, this and that to do. Do something each day to have fun. It can be 10 minutes of something that say man, that was kind of fun. Let's do that again. Make it happen. Find a way to make that fun happen. Even if it's a board game, or you watch a funny show, or you go and do something funny. Do something that causes you to laugh and where you can walk away and say, that's kind of fun. We should do that again. Because that breaks you out of this fight or flight response and breaks you out of stress mode. And that's so powerful for the nervous system, which affects then our ability to develop authentic energy. Yes, thank you. Emotional health and stress management are hugely impactful on building authentic energy. Most of the time we just think about it as food and a specific exercise plan. Well, if you have the perfect exercise plan and the perfect nutrition plan, but you're a bundle of stress and walking around all freaked out all the time, none of that's going to matter because you're not going to be able to absorb your nutrients, and your nervous system is going to be all jacked up and you're not going to feel good, right? As moms, we totally need strategies to implement these tools into our everyday life, because otherwise motherhood passes us by as a complete chore and a stressor. And that's not good because our kids didn't choose to be born into that. And most of the time, their issues is a matter of us not being able to handle their issues, us not being able to support their stressors or their stress responses, because we are already at the top of our stress level. If we are already at the top of our stress level, we can't do anything to support them because we're already in panic mode, right? So if you don't have kids yet, start checking these boxes now. I wish I could hit the rewind button and talk to myself of 12 years ago and say, man, let's start putting this stuff into action before we even think about conceiving, because my whole first experience with the boys would have been completely different. And I wouldn't have been trying to figure out what was wrong with me with all these extremes, where it was just my nervous system was completely out of whack, right? And my minerals were out of whack. I didn't have my priorities set up, my habit loop set up. And some of it is life practice, but then also we know so much more now. There's so much more good information. So if you're going into this new year, which I despise New Year resolution, yes, we all have very similar. I definitely. What is your first name? Just type it in the chat so I can call you by your first name. I don't want to call you N Gunnar. So I just lost my train of thought. But the main message, thanks, Nicole. Yes, totally. So our main message is that going into this new year, there's my thought. Going into this new year, we really want to look at how are we going to address our health? Where are we going to start? Because there's you're going to be flooded by all kinds of messages going into the new year in terms of starting, joining, purchasing, initiating different things. Think about the roots. Think about how your stress level over the last 5-6 years. What has it been like? What in your world right now can you see as dysfunctional that if you had a magic wand to change it, you would say, I wish it was that. Like something that really pulls out and stands out in your mind. Like, I wish it was that. I wish that if you have a health role model and you look at that person, you're like, man, I want to mirror everything about that so that my world doesn't feel like a tornado of stress all the time. And that I wake up in the morning and I am like literally ready to start the day. And you finish the day saying that was a solid day and that you're not crashed out mid-afternoon or foods don't feel good to your body anymore. Your body hurts or life is just too flipping hard all the time. It's not meant to be that way. It's all about how you are organizing your habit loops and putting your priorities in place. So think about that, right? Think about what practices you're going to put into place. And if you can't figure out how necessarily to connect all these dots together, that's when you reach out and you ask for help. The cool thing about most online practitioners and coaches, good ones, is they're going to initiate the conversation with you with a call where it just is a matter of saying, are you a good fit to work with me? And am I a good fit to work with you? And really good coaches will say, we're not the best fit for each other, but I know the coach that is a really good fit for you. And they're going to reach out to their network and they're going to connect you with someone who will get you the help that they need. That's how you know you have a solid coach whose mission it is to support you for getting the help that you need. But the last thing that you want to do is let another year pass by where you're in this tailspin of stress and you're not able to achieve your everyday health and move your needle on your health and achieve your goals because you are such a bundle of stress, right? You don't need to live like that. There's too many options now. So, all right, I'm going to sign off and thank you so much for listening. And if you are ready to connect, all you have to do is drop me a DM and we can set up a call. I am open for spring of 2022 clients, but the process to get there can be started in January. So I hope I get to meet you and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.